Welcome to Season 2 of Overeducated and Underemployed. I'm Fedden. I'm super excited for the interview I've got for you today, and I'm super excited for the things I've got coming for you this season. We are doing video now, so you can check out our YouTube channel. I'm also doing some interviews over video chat and other methods, but still doing the majority in person if I can, but I wanted to expand my options a little bit. Today is going to be the first of such episodes. Today I am talking to Jeff Whalen, who was the singer for a band called TSAR. He's also got a solo record out that came out in 2019 that I didn't know about until I talked to him. But I have since listened to it, and man, is it fun. Check it out. There's a link to it in the description. If rock and roll saved my life as a teenager, then TSAR is definitely one of the bands that did it. And rock and roll definitely saved my life as a teenager, and still does. I had a great talk with Jeff. We talked for almost 2 hours. He was super gracious with his time, and really was very open, and just it was great. I think you're gonna really get a lot out of it. They kind of lived the TSAR, kind of lived the tale of the one-hit wonder. I got to see them open for a band called Marvelous 3. We talk about that. We talk about the beast of the major label and the music industry. Talk about perseverance. I really enjoyed this talk. I think you're going to as well. Thanks for tuning in. Here's my talk with Jeff Whalen. I'm only seeing you, not myself, but I can fix that in a second.
I can see you.
Okay. I'm trying to get it to where I've got both of us on camera.
Sure.
I'm not sure if I'm going to release this as a video or not. I haven't done a video podcast before. I've actually done all of them in person. This is the first time I've done one remotely.
Where are you? You're not in
I'm in
California.
Tallahassee, Florida. Yeah. It's I've done a lot of my interviews in Athens, Georgia, though. I've been traveling up there to do a lot of these.
Cool.
It's like kind of a hub of culture up there, so there's a lot going on, a lot of people I can talk to.
Awesome. I'm sure there's people in LA you can talk to if you ever decide to take a visit out here.
A couple of the people that I just talked to last month used to live out there for a couple of years, or for a decade. Laura Wiggins was on Shameless for several seasons. She played Karen, and then Jonathan Spencer. And we're rolling now, so we'll just keep going.
This is on. This is live.
Yeah. We're not on the air anywhere. I can edit anything later, but yeah. I'm recording everything. We're good to go.
All right. No, sometimes you do interviews and you do all this great stuff, like at the top, and then they go, "All right, well, we're about to get going." I'm like, "No, it was gold. It was gold."
I will just say I'm here with Jeff Whalen from. I know you from a band called TSAR, who I have listened to continuously since I was a teenager.
Awesome.
And we'll talk about that a little bit at some point in my introduction to y'all. But I'm actually really curious what else you do, and if there are other bands, other artistic projects. I haven't really found. I don't really do a lot of research necessarily before my interviews, especially when
Nor do I. I just get up there and just make it all up as we go.
Perfect. Yeah. I like to have an organic conversation, and if I'm interviewing somebody that I haven't interacted with at all or had any experience, of course I'll check on some things, but I'm actually really familiar with some aspects of your work. I just want to know more about what else you do.
Okay. So yes, my my first big, such as it was, my first major label thing was the band TSAR, TSAR. We have to spell it even now. We picked the worst band name in the world. We didn't know. We thought it was rad. We thought it was going to be great, but it's a word that nobody knows it apparently, which was a surprise to me. But so that came out, like we had 2 albums. That was in the early 2000s, the aughts. Then I've since then done, like, I did a solo album. I made 2 albums with my college band. That was a lot of fun, and then recently completed this other thing, which is called the Monster Squad, which is, let's call it like a bubblegum group, like a 60s bubblegum group, where we're all like old-time movie monsters, living the life kind of like the Monkees TV show. And that should be coming out, I'm hoping, sometime before Halloween. I don't know. There's various reasons why it wouldn't, but that's all finished and ready to come out whenever we can make that happen.
And what was the title of that again?
That's called the Monster Squad.
The Monster Squad. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I'm the Mummy. There's Dracula. There's the Wolfman. There's Frankenstein and laughs.
And you're a band.
Yeah, we're a band trying to make it in Hollywood, like the Monkees. We all live in an apartment together. It started as the idea was supposed to be like a TV show, and we went to a lot of different TV networks and TV producers and stuff. We got a production deal, and things were looking up for a minute, but then it didn't happen. And so then since then I've just been trying to finish the record, which was my main thing about it, which was this kind of bubblegum. Because in my heart of hearts, I'm a bubblegum guy. I'm a lot of things, and anybody worth a darn is many things inside.
Yeah.
But one of the ones that I am inside is a bubblegum guy, and expressing and exploring those tropes is meaningful to me in ways that I cannot explain.
I think that's. I think I can definitely see that in the music of yours that I know and love. Let me ask you the same question that I start with everybody, because this leads nicely into it. What's the first song that you remember loving as a child? Being inquisitive about is a good way that I think Jay Gonzalez put it to me when I asked him that. Do you remember? Or that you do?
I do know that as a kid, like a little guy, and I don't know if we're doing video, but I'm indicating a small size person. Was probably, I've been working on the railroad. Apparently, I love to listen to that song. I love to hear people sing it. I love to sing it. I've been working on the railroad all the live long day. Also is very into bingo. NGO is like a hook of the top level to me. Clapping hook, spelling hook. These spoke to me as a little guy. But in terms of the first like pop song or song on the radio or song that I like I was really into Little Willie by The Sweet, which I don't even now. I'm not sure what it's about. I have theories about what it's about, and at the time, because a lot of pop songs, you grow up and you think, "Ooh, it's about that." I think, and that was one later. I thought it was about something else, but as a kid, I just thought it was about like a kid named Little Willie who was causing problems.
I think one thing that is like a signifier of a great song or just great art in general is like when the meaning changes with you as you grow. The example I always use is like The Sopranos. Like I was like in college when The Sopranos was on, so I was like into the ultra violence and the gangster shit, and then I rewatched it again as an older but more mature human being, and you realize he's the villain. Like he's actually not anything to look up to at all. And great songs, you ascribe your own meaning to them anyway. Sure. But I wonder.
Are you talking about Are you talking about like that? As you mature, the thing seems different to you, or what is that what you're talking about?
It's both, right? I think it's both that, and also like, the meaning is abstract to begin with anyway. Like the songwriter might always have an intention when they write a song,
Hmm.
but once they put it out there, like that doesn't really mean that much anymore. I think,
Right.
as much as they might want it to, like people are gonna put their own meaning on it no matter what, and I think great art is, whether it's a song or a TV show or a movie or even a game, is something that like that your what you're putting onto it like changes as you change, and it's fluid, and it in a way that like maybe that song when you were a kid was just like a fun pop song, maybe later it became something more meaningful, or even maybe something like you're like, oh, maybe that's a cautionary tale, like I just depending on the song.
I don't know if Little Willie did all those things for me, but I know what you mean. A few years ago went for a late night walk, and I left the CD player on because I have a CD player. I put it on, like it's a 5-discer, that kind. Remember that kind?
Yeah.
And I had various discs in there. I didn't even remember what I had in there, but I just hit play and I went for a walk. I was gone for like an hour or something, and I came back, and as I came in, it was God by John Lennon, the last song, or basically the last song on Plastic Ono Band, his first solo album.
Right.
And this is, you're in high school, and they go, oh, Plastic Ono Band's so great. And then you're in college and you're going around telling people, oh yeah, Plastic Ono Band's so great, because you've been told that it is, but you're a fan of the Beatles, and like the kind of the youthful energy of the Beatles, that kind of like unhinged creativity of the Beatles is what's exciting to you. And then you get to Plastic Ono Band, which has this kind of really simplistic instrumentation. I don't know if you know the record, but
I do. Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite
right.
records. Yeah.
So it's known as like his Primal Scream record.
Yeah.
And so you act like you like it, or you act like you understand it, but you're like 20. You don't know what the fuck he's talking about. This guy. And so for whatever reason, a song I had heard dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of times, I come in from the walk, and now I'm older now. And he's laying out this thing of what he fucking doesn't believe. And he's this guy's John Lennon, and I was somehow like so overwhelmed for the first time with the meaning of what he was putting forth here, is that he did all this stuff and he doesn't believe in fucking anything. He doesn't believe in anything, and he's alone. And then like he goes, it just believes in me. And then like you can see like Yoko on the piano bench, like he goes, okay, Yoko and me. He includes her, but really he's saying after all that, he believes in nothing and he's alone. And for whatever, you listen to that when you're 17, and you can't get crushed by it. You can't get crushed by that. Right. You listen to that later, and you just get swamped. It was like a tsunami of feeling overcame me in a way. It was like a once in a lifetime listen to that song. I can't put it on now and have that same experience, but like it was such it was like a once in a lifetime experience of listening to a song where its enormity got me like once.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. When was the first time you really felt like overwhelmed by a song like that? Maybe not to that scale, but really connected emotionally with a song.
The first time, I don't know.
Or at least that you remember.
I feel like there were definitely times when like I felt transported in some kind of way. A lot of it was like different than the listening to God in the sense that I wasn't aware consciously of what was happening to me. So like when I was a little kid, I was raised in like this kind of extreme Christianity.
Okay.
A milieu which would be now referred to as MAGA, or I had that kind of family, that kind of childhood. And a really kind of extreme form of Christianity, really based on hell, really based on punishment, really based on
the fire and brimstone stuff,
on sin and stuff. You can do your best, but you're probably not going to make it. And anyway, the rapture's coming, so you're fucked anyway, and you're like 10. So I had this like radio, and it was shaped like Superman, right? It was like the top part of Superman. I don't know if we're on video, but
So this will. I think we'll probably release it both ways. So there'll be an
okay.
audio-only
Yeah.
version, and
Yeah.
I'll put the video up too if you're cool with it. Yeah.
It's not important, but to see the shape. But anyway, it was like, so I had this like, AM radio, and I was like zooming it around the dial. I think it was AM, because the next thing that happened was I found myself going past Back in Black by AC/DC, right? And I knew it was satanic. There wasn't any confusion on my part. I had been to many youth services where they talked about backward basking or just devil message and rock and roll. And here's AC/DC, one of the main offenders of the genre. But I was like, I felt like I was like pinned like a butterfly to a box or whatever, and like I could not change the channel. And I was like, and I'm like, and I could feel the power of Satan or whatever it was, like coursing through me. And I tried to fight it off, man. I tried to fight it off, but the power of rock and roll or whatever, it was too much. It was too much for me. And it was like an emotional, spiritual, I don't know what kind of thing it was, but it was scary. It was exhilarating. I didn't tell anybody about it. It was like one of those things. So I'd say that that's the first time that kind of thing happened to me.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I would honestly, like, and this is not blowing smoke, I would say that your first record did that to me as a teenager.
Oh, no.
Fuck yeah, man. No, I got to see you open for a band called the Marvelous Three.
Sure.
Several times. Me and my friends, my friends were all in college, and they like kidnapped me with my mom's permission. And we like followed you for like 5 days, from Charleston, and I don't even remember what days were, but I saw you several. There's
Awesome.
a moment I remember. I am almost positive you were there for in Pensacola.
Okay.
Where I end up in the bathroom, and I actually was there the day that Butch like tore his Achilles tendon.
Okay.
I just happened to be at that show, and I told him about it in the bathroom in Pensacola, and he like pulled it. He just like showed me his scar.
Oh, wow.
And then he starts singing Allison in the bathroom, and you walked in, and I'm pretty sure you started Allison by Elvis Costello.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure I have a very like vivid memory of the two of y'all like singing Allison in the middle, him with one boot on, by the way.
I don't remember that, but in no way do I doubt it. I don't doubt it even slightly. Yeah.
But it was just like, it was like rock. Yeah, my favorite band talks a lot about how rock and roll saved their life as a teenager, and like y'all were one of those bands for me, and it was just that unexhilarating. I almost think of it as like controlled chaos, because it is a little scary, but you're also like, you're going to survive it. But
you might get damaged. Something happens. I mean, these things are transformational. And it took me a long time to get through my kind of Christian upbringing. And rock and roll was like essential for that. Because it's, you hear about like John Lennon and his like bigger than God thing or whatever, and you started having theories about it, and I had a theory about that's why they called their label Apple, because it was like the apple from Adam and Eve, and it's like the fruit of knowledge, and that they can set you free from this I don't know, religious tyranny. And it doesn't really do that, but it was important for me to trade kind of the nonsense of Christianity for the, I think, preferable nonsense of rock and roll.
It's interesting when you discover something that you love, like immediately, that like takes you over like that, but it's something that you've been told is wrong your whole life. Like, what did that feel like? Do you remember like how like
it was a process? Because like on the one hand, as when you're a kid, rock and roll is, oh, they must be like on so much drugs they don't know what's going on. But then as it's presented to you at church or wherever about how like you take the back cover and you put a mirror here and you look at it, you can see that, and like it has all this meaning, all these symbols, all this like stuff backwards. It's like the most meaning in the world is being put into these records, and like that it had a whole hierarchy of things, how things worked. It was very interesting to me. It was, I have no doubt that like the way that it was presented to me is having so much power, having so much intricate meaning, that these things ultimately were attractive to me as much as they were cautionary. Once I like, my mom divorced this Canadian dude that she was married. We got, for the first time, could listen to like rock music. Right? We had to keep it like down. We could watch TV, but that was for the first time. And then I had a friend who was really knowledgeable about music, and so it took me a while. What's that?
Was that friend like a little older than you?
Yeah, only like a year or something, but yeah.
Yeah, but usually the trend I found is it's always like an older brother or like an older friend, like somebody that's like just a little bit.
Yeah. Way cooler than me, for sure.
Right.
I remember because he was the first person that told me that the Beatles version of Helter Skelter was heavier than the Motley Crue version of Helter Skelter. And I was like, that concept was just so bizarre to me. But you're like 13 and you go, wow, the Beatles are heavier than Motley Crue. Wow.
And I think it took me a long time to realize how heavy TSAR really can get sometimes. Like, no, really. It was like when I was a teenager, it was like poppy, and it is. It's like it definitely got like that bubblegum pop thing that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But especially I've been listening to it. I never stopped. I remember last year I was driving back from New Orleans with a buddy of mine, and you hadn't even announced this reissue or anything. And I was like, man, check this band out. And he loved it, man. We listened to the whole record on the way back, but I've been listening to it again on vinyl. And
cool.
And first of all, it ages amazingly well. Like
great. That's great to hear.
And so does Band Girls Money. I think, sometimes you go back and you listen to the music that you were into as a teenager, and you're like, ooh, fuck. And I've experienced that occasionally, but
sure.
But it's really not.
Give me an example of what you mean, where you went back and you went, ooh.
Oh gosh,
I had
Limp Bizkit's significant other, man. But I'm from Florida, and it had a parental advisory sticker.
You can't skip that. Whenever I go back, I'm always like, I was I was right. Like
99. I will say most of the time I went and saw Marvelous 3 at their reunion show last year, and fuck yeah, I was right about them. I listened to this record. Like most of the music I loved as a kid. Ben Folds was somebody I was really into as a kid. Ben Folds 5 and his solo stuff. He's proved me right plenty of times. So I think most of the time that's true for me too. I can't really think of another example, and I probably got that CD because I remember I ended up working in the store that I bought it at. I remember where I bought it, but most of the appeal at that time was it had a parental advisory sticker on it. Like, it was something our parents didn't want us to listen to. The Matrix soundtrack, I think I bought for the same reason. Oh. But that record fucking rules.
I've never even heard it. Yeah, maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah, the original Matrix soundtrack has some really good songs on it. I'm not going to lie. It's fucking good. This South Park movie, I was obsessed with that soundtrack, too.
I don't think I've ever even seen that movie.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I don't know if your upbringing can handle it, Jeff.
Look, I'm a Simpsons guy. Always was. South Park.
I do think it's kind of like the Beatles or the Stones.
Yeah, I mean, I can do both.
Simpsons or South Park. And yeah, some people can do both a little bit, but everybody's always got a preference of one or the other. So when did you start realizing you wanted to write songs, and when did you start writing songs instead of just being like, I love music, when you were like, I want to make music?
I was a freshman in college, and if somebody's in England listening to this, in university, in uni.
Right. Yes.
And I've been told a bunch that you can do whatever you want to do in your life, and we were on acid. I guess I took that as a permission to take acid. And me and some friends, and I was like running around this park, and I had long hair for the first time. And as I was running, kind of the hair was like kind of flopping on my shoulders a little bit. And I said, you can do whatever you want. What do you want to do? And I said, I want to rock. And I came back to my friends and I said, I want to be a musician. And they said, oh. So I told my dad I wanted a guitar, and for my 18th birthday, he sent me a guitar, a really cheap acoustic guitar, and a cake, and I don't know, it had a bullet on the top of the cake. I was 18 because it was 18 and with a bullet reference. Do you know that song? 18 with a bullet?
I don't think that I do.
Okay.
Maybe if I heard it, it might be
it's
somewhere
a
there.
70s almost novelty song with a lot of puns about records and relationships, and but it's like more like a throwback to like early 60s kind of song. Anyway, he sent me a guitar and a cake with a bullet in it, and I started learning how to play guitar through, because I got a Beatles songbook and it had a picture of the chords that you can make, and I would that's how I learned how to make the chords. You put your fingers in that shape, and the Beatles in those books use a lot of sevens. So like for the first couple of years when I would write songs, I'd have a lot of sevens in them because I knew how to make those chords, and the Beatles used them all the time. And now I forget to put sevens in. And I wonder, because like I thought that would be really great teacher of how like songs are put together, how chord progressions work, all that kind of stuff. And it really was helpful, but it took me a long time to stop putting so many sevens into my song.
And now you said you forget now.
I forget to put sevens in.
Yeah.
So I'll go like G, and I go, no, don't you mean G7? Like the only one I routinely do is B7 for whatever reason, which that's like the hardest one to make. I don't know.
So are you entirely self-taught, or did you eventually get like music lessons of some sort, or?
I played cello and French horn in elementary school. Okay. So I did have that.
So you had some like music theory a little bit.
A little bit. I can read music extremely slowly. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you were to give me like your new symphony, I would look at it. I couldn't be one of those guys who goes, "This is brilliant." I'd have to like.
Right. Yeah. No, I sing in a choir, and that's about my level of like music knowledge. I feel like that's probably where you were when you left elementary school.
Yeah. And so much and I wish that I had more of those older friends then, say like at the beginning of college. I wish I had more cooler dudes that were in bands to like show us how to do it, because we're just like friends that like, let's try this. And I wish that there had been a larger group of cooler kids showing the younger kids how to do it. Or maybe I don't wish that. I don't know, but we didn't have that. And so like the first time we ever played in college, whatever, we had like the vocals and two guitars coming out of the same amp because it had 4 inputs. Right. This thing could take 4 things.
Yeah.
Not realizing that it only would do like whatever the loudest one was at the time.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So where did you grow up, Jeff? Did you grow up
in
Long
Beach, California? Long Beach, California.
And where were you in university at the time?
UC Santa Barbara.
Okay. So did you just start a band right then? Like you took a trip and you're like, I'm going to be a musician. And did you basically just start a band the next day? Did you already have any?
No, I hadn't played. I didn't know how to play anything. I didn't have a guitar or anything. Yeah. I should also mention that there in the dorms and I'm going to act. People take drugs in college. I hope that's okay for me to mention that.
Absolutely. We're a big, especially of the psychedelic sort.
Yeah.
We're big advocates and friends of psychedelics on this podcast, I would
say. Okay. I don't know if you
they
consider...
can be very therapeutic, and there's a lot of benefits.
And trippy. Don't forget trippy.
Yeah,
I don't know if this
that's
is video,
the thing
but,
is,
yeah.
they have their place in making us better people, but they're also really fun.
Also gets you high.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, I don't know if this is a psychedelic, but this was marijuana. But it was very new.
Yeah.
It was very new to me, and I was in my friend's dorm room down the hall from mine, and he had an electric guitar and it wasn't plugged in. I didn't know how to play it, and he put on the Help soundtrack by the Beatles, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll be right back," and he left to go. I don't know where he went to the bathroom or something. I was in there for like 10 minutes by myself, and I had the electric guitar and it wasn't plugged in. It can make some noise. I didn't know how to make any of the chords, but like for the first 3 songs in the Beatles Help soundtrack, I was like acting like I was especially a teenage stoned person, and I was acting like I was in the Beatles, and I really liked it. I really responded to it, and I really wanted to do it. Now, it's not that easy, obviously, to just get stoned and start playing unplugged in. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. You start learning how and everything, and then I worked at the college newspaper there at UC Santa Barbara, the Daily Nexus, and so a bunch of people there, Jeff Solomon, who became the bass player in TSAR, and a few other people there. We formed a band called the Brothers Steve, which was the band that we came up with a couple albums a couple years ago, and then we really had a good time playing and seeing this other band that was called the Wonderfuls, and that had the drummer was Steve Coulter, who later was in TSAR, and the bass player was Dan Kern, who became the lead guitar player in TSAR, and then a couple other people in that group that we also, so we were in like a lot of different crossover bands with a lot of different themes, sometimes just for a couple shows.
I definitely remember hearing about the Brothers Steve back in the day. Like, that was part of the mythology or the lore. Yeah.
So that's how it happened. And in UC Santa Barbara, I don't know if this has made it out this all the way to Florida, but yeah, it's a party school. And even now, when people find out that I went to UC Santa Barbara, it's like the second question they ask is it a party school? And I say, yes, it is. And there's this town where it's like almost all students live. It's called Isla Vista. And I don't know what it's like now, but back then in the 90s, anybody you would just walk down the street and there would be bands playing, kegs. And you just wander in and here's to watch some band. And it was like that. And I was surprised by how good the songs were from these bands. And they were all just almost all originals. There was maybe a few cover bands, but it was mostly like themed bands trying to sound like, I don't know, the Pixies or whatever kind of thing was happening. It was very indie, very artsy, and a lot of fun. And maybe I didn't appreciate it enough, although I appreciated it quite a lot at the time.
It sounds like, were you writing songs before you knew how to play them? Were you?
Oh, I would only play Beatles songs and songs I wrote myself, yes.
But were you, as you were learning to play, were you like finding you were writing more than you could play? Or was it you were writing like and being able to play it like in parallel? Did your guitar playing limit your songwriting?
Oh, absolutely. At first I would write songs that had pauses in them so I could rearrange my fingers to the next chord. That takes a long time. And I'm not like, my fingers don't bend the right way, as they say. No one says that, but that's what happens. But I did not do the high school, come home after school, do scales for 2 hours thing. I did not do any of that stuff. I had no readiness at all for performing live. But luckily, the scene was such that was an optional thing. And at the time, I had a theory that it hasn't changed, which is like the only 2 things that a band needs, the only 2 requirements that it must have are that it has good songs and that they're cool in some whatever way they're cool. It doesn't matter. It can be a wide range, but any kind of
Yeah,
expert musicianship or anything else is optional. It can be a good add-on. It can be, but it's not essential.
I think, yeah, it's all about feeling, right?
Yeah.
So at what age were you guys signed, and when did the band solidify as Czar? And did that happen as part of the sign? Like, how did all that go down? And because it sounds like you were pretty young. I don't think that you're that much older than me. I just think that I just happened to catch you when you were really young.
Yeah. No, I think we were in our 20s. It wasn't
yeah.
like, and we had definitely like Steve had already been signed in this band called Rydell High, and
I remember that band a little bit. Yeah.
And we had all like from college. I lived in Prague for a couple of years, and people were living in San Francisco. And then when Dan was living in Chico. I'm saying places. I don't know if anybody knows where they are, but
Google Maps. It's fine.
Yeah, come on, guys. And so he moved down to LA when I came back from Prague, and we were going to form this band. And bit by bit, we got it together. We had a few different players at first, but it all came together with the crew that we already knew each other really well, and we're just friends. There was like when we started playing, like it had only been toiling in obscurity, as that's the default thing, and something happened, and I don't know what it was, but suddenly we were confident. We were almost like, it was like, oh my God, this is easy. And like we would play and people would come, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what the thing was, but like seemingly in like just a few weeks' time, we became really hot in town, and suddenly we had management, labels after us within just which is literally weeks.
So was that something that you were like hesitant about how quick
No.
it came on, or were you like just super excited about it all?
Super excited. Like it was transformational. It was, and like just to bring it back to drugs, this like the first time you take acid or mushrooms, whatever, you might have an expectation, as I did, that like I would go into another world, and not necessarily like a Yellow Submarine kind of world, but like some kind of thing. But it's not like that. It's like you see patterns or you see whatever, and it's definitely psychedelic, but it's not like this other world.
Yeah, you don't see anything that isn't there in some form, right? Well, I feel like experiences differ a little bit on that too, but you don't see like apparitions. One time,
no, you don't see apparitions.
Yeah.
Me and a friend definitely watched still figures on this towel that were like, it was a running guy, but we watched them race.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yes, I believe that 100%.
Oh no! This guy, can you believe this guy's catching up?
Don't do drugs, kids. They're not fun.
But I thought that, I didn't think this, I just hoped this or expected this, that there would be some sort of transformation when the band got signed, would put out records or whatever. I thought that would be like, it would be a transformational experience where then life would be different and I wouldn't be the person that I was before, or that I would be, but some kind of special version of it or something. I don't really know. None of that happened. I don't know how I thought it would happen, or it wasn't conscious, but it was an expectation. And I thought that, like, I don't know, I thought something would happen, and it's not like that. But there is, you can watch people race or whatever, but it's not happening. So I wanted it to happen, and it didn't happen. And so I wish that I had more focused on that not happening. But that's where I was, and that's what I was thinking.
How much control did you have over this first record? Did you feel like you got to? Because I've heard this story a million times where the band gets signed And at the end of the day, they don't get to put out the record that they really wanted to put out. I, as a fan, think this is a record to be really proud of, and I think y'all probably feel that way on some level too, or you wouldn't have been. I feel like y'all were instrumental in the reissue on some level, right?
Yeah, and vocal.
I don't think like I don't think that it just like somebody else was like, "Hey, no offense."
No, it's a really weird thing because we had like when that record came out, I was so excited. I was so convinced that we had done it, right? That here is this album. The only problem is it too good? Did we make an album that was too good? That we seriously have had some half serious conversations along those lines.
It's a really, for those listening that haven't heard it, it's a fantastic fucking record to this day. It really is.
And so I was really surprised when it came out and people would say that it was overproduced, which there was like, and I've said this in a bunch of interviews, but there was like maybe a year plus period where I had at least one conversation about whether it was overproduced every day, sometimes multiple. And like somebody told that to me across the street once. I was walking in Hollywood and somebody goes like, "Hey, you're in TSAR." And I go, "Yeah." And they go, "Your record's overproduced." And I go, "Okay." It was like that. And I didn't know that because we made this on tape. We were not, everything that's on there we did. It's not tuned. There's no copy paste going on. There's none of that. And we just, and when it would sound like to me like it wasn't right, we would just do it again and we'd double everything and we just did work on it. And then when it came out, people who were used to us live, which it's not like that. It's like a much more unhinged, crazy, mistakes aplenty, more what's happening? Oh my God! Experience rather than more. We had more comparisons to like Boston's first album than I expected, or even the occasional Starship. It sounds like knee deep in the hoopla to somebody. When we were going for this like Sex Pistols meets the Cars, or I don't even know what we like.
I don't think I had ever heard anything like it.
Oh, awesome!
I think I was like 15, but I really at that point it knocked me on my ass. Like I was like, and I'm still not sure what I would compare it to. Like really, and I'm really surprised to hear you say overproduced.
No, and I don't think it has that reputation so much now. What's really weird is that at the time,
I've never even heard that in my head.
Yeah. At the time, we were fighting to not be considered hair metal or glam band, which is so weird to me. I remember my brother at the time said only a glam band would spend so much time denying they're a glam band, and it's a great line. But it was like that where. And the thing is, no one says that now. Now, I think if you look at it, we're a power pop band, and nobody was saying that at the time. No one said, "Here comes some power pop." It was all like, "Is this glam?" That was the question.
Yeah, I think power pop is what I would. If somebody asked me what y'all were, yeah, that's what I would call it too. Okay. Yeah. One thing that I think maybe people, and this actually I think goes back to what you were saying a second ago about was it too good? I've never thought it sounded overproduced, but what I have always thought was it sounded like it was futuristic.
Oh, awesome!
Like it was like something like teleported to us, and it still. What's interesting is it still has that. Like you listen to it now, even on vinyl, like you're listening to it on like a retro medium,
yeah,
and it still sounds futuristic. And I wonder
if
maybe that's what they missed. Like maybe that's what they were like, overproduced, but I don't have the right word for it.
No, it's so interesting that you say that because at the time, and this is again, like I had friends that were making records at the same time we were, and one in particular was just to put this in the temporal context of what else was going on was that there was a lot of scratching going on. There was a lot of scratching going on even in rock music at the time. And that I had a friend tell me like, that I got to get with the times because scratching is now that's just another kind of drum fill. It's just an integral part. It's just another thing, and I'm like, no, I want to make a record that's timeless, that no one would know when it was recorded, and no one could say what time it was anchored to. So I'm really happy to hear you say that.
I think you achieved that 100%. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say just one more thing about the record versus us live, which is at the time it was very common for people to, if they saw us first and then bought the record, they were disappointed with the record. But if they bought the record first and then saw us, then they were okay. But it was like they didn't expect us to be so punk rock on stage, but it was weird. Like I would see people get really excited and then get the record and then go, huh. So
that's really interesting because I think I heard the record first, but only once on the drive up.
Oh, okay.
To see the first first time I saw you, like
With
my friend that kidnapped me, and I think it was Atlanta, like maybe was the first time.
If that was with the Marvelous Three, then that was like a crazy show, right? As I remember.
Yeah, and that whole tour was crazy.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
It was mayhem, and from the first note of y'all, and so I think for me, I heard the record once, right? Then saw you live. Then probably listened to the record like 2 or 3 times on the drive to the next show and saw you again the next day or 2 days later. And so I had this like layering of hearing the record, seeing you live, where I'm not even sure now I can remember what was different about listening, because it's like listening to the record like, teleports me back to your show in a way. I'd love to hear more about the differences you think between the record and what you sounded like live, other than just like more mistakes or sloppier. I think like that whole tour was a little sloppy.
but at scale. But it was at scale. Like we might do a song. We would like the bands that we were really influenced by in terms of like our live thing were these bands where like you didn't know what was going to happen next, right? There was like thoughts about, if you're going to be playing guitar, you shouldn't be so comfortable. Like to do a show where you didn't make a mistake was like you weren't doing your job, right? You should always be like right there at the edge of your ability, right? And so with some things we were doing that, but some of our like harmony ability or some of our other things we should maybe not be doing that at the edge of what was possible. We should maybe be a little more reliable. But that said, I mean, you get out there and whatever happens, and I think that I know I had a different idea of what the live thing that's a moment that you put out, and then the album is something that is permanent, that kind of exists always the same way, and that there are 2 different forms, and they shouldn't be necessarily have the same values. A lot of like famous live albums turned out to be that they're not live at all, or only a little bit live. And so I think that I really don't know, but I know that our energy is sloppy and punky live, and that the record is polished, and we do the same thing every time. And like when
I was gonna say, but the record's still like very raw and very.
Oh, awesome! I'm so glad to hear that, because that we really tried really hard. And if I remember, and this is something I've thought about a lot since, is we tried really hard on that record. I didn't want to say to myself later, why didn't you try harder? Or why didn't you got to make an album and you didn't try your best? What are you doing? So I really tried my best and really worked.
Did y'all get full creative control, or did you get some pushback from the label about certain aspects?
With that in mind, it was produced by this guy, Rob Cavallo, right? Who was at the time probably most famous for Green Day, maybe the Goo Goo Dolls, but mostly Green Day at that time. And I remember we were having lunch as we were getting signed. We were having lunch with the band and our managers and some people from the label. And he leaned over to me and he said, so you just want to do, we'll just plug you in and let you guys go, right? And I go, no, let's do a produced album. And he goes, you want to do a produced album? I go, yeah, let's make like a produced like album like they used to. And he goes, huh, interesting. I thought I was just gonna plug you in and let you go. And I'm like, oh, let's make it produced. And he goes, oh, okay. So like if anything, they wanted to push us in a more Green Day-ish kind of direction. I would say.
Almost like a Steve Albini type recording.
Yeah.
Just...
But I wanted to make like a '70s record.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you didn't get a lot of pushback there, but
no. And then honestly, if anything, Rob was supportive, but wasn't there a lot. So it was weird because like we didn't get a lot of pressure to like finish up or whatever. They gave us a lot of time in the studio, but then a lot of it was just us and the engineer Ken Allardyce, where like we wouldn't hear from the producer for like weeks. Or like one time, like we came to the studio and he was in there with Lisa Bonet, and oh, can you guys come back at 2 because he's in there with Lisa Bonet? I'm like, well, this is we're recording right now. I go, he's in there with Lisa Bonet.
Wow, that's wild. So was that the first tour? Was that the first when that record came out? At least maybe not the Marvelous 3 tour, but was that the first time you toured as a musician?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The first tour we ever went on was with Duran that summer.
Oh my God.
And then the second tour was the Marvelous 3 tour.
Okay.
So yeah, we drove to, I think our first show was in Texas, and we got out of the van and started unloading the stuff out of the van in Texas at like the Dallas whatever.
Because you didn't have roadies or anything. Like it was just.
Well, no, this is what happened. And then these like union guys, these Teamsters or whatever, come up and say, no, you guys aren't allowed to move your equipment. And we're like, oh, we're not allowed to move our own equipment. Oh my God. And then cut to two shows later, and we're very comfortable with that. But we had no experience with it. The idea of any of it, it was like a dream. And I know that I don't think that the Duran tour did much, or it certainly didn't do much positive for our outlook, but it was great. It was so fun. It was like going on tour, and I loved Duran. And like you just go from like clubs to that, and then your record's coming out, because it came out while we were on tour with them, and it's a highly recommended. I would highly recommend that experience to people. Honestly.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to tour with Duran and have your record come out at the same time, then do that thing for sure.
Do it. Yeah, do it. It might hurt your career, but it's a lot of fun.
What do you think was like disheartening or maybe hurtful about it in terms of your career?
They're like a band that is in like its greatest hits era by then.
Yeah.
And the people going to those shows are paying more money than they would to see us in a club. So say somebody did want to come see us as we come through town, right? Then they got to pay, say, $70 or whatever it was back then to see us play a short set. And then say you came to see Duran by then, at that time, maybe if it was 1983 or something, you'd go, oh, maybe the opener is going to be cool. But by the 2000s, you're seeing Duran, you just want to see Hungry Like the Wolf and stuff, and you're not like going, hey, maybe the opener is going to be this really cool band.
Were you playing with the lights on, or did they turn off do you remember? I'm sure you remember. Do you?
Yeah, about how it was, summertime. A lot of these, almost all of them, were like outdoor amphitheater kind of guys.
Gotcha.
So it was still light outside for a lot of them. It seemed like a lot of them were also at or near amusement parks. It was like, I don't know. You'd come out and they go, woo! You go, all right. But then you realize that was actually just a roller coaster. But it was great. And playing for big audiences is a lot easier than playing for small audiences. So, like, you could really just go, what's going on this side? And they go, ah.
Yeah.
And you go, I can't hear the people in the back. Like that. It's easy.
How did all that change with your second tour with the Marvelous 3, which was the first time but I feel like by then you knew. First of all, you guys knew what the fuck you were doing, right? Like you had it dialed in terms of your showmanship. And
Yeah. Marvel's 3 tour was a really interesting one for us because I remember us feeling like confident about our stage show. And I remember like in LA, people wouldn't want to play after us, right? So we got like, cocky on that front that like we're so great, right? And then the first night we went out and we opened for Marvelous 3 and we're like, oh man, totally not worried about being overshadowed by the close of the headliner. And then like about 20 minutes into their show, I remember turning to our bass player and going, we have good songs. They creamed us. Yeah.
I've really lucked. And to go back to what we were talking about earlier, man, like I've really lucked out about some of the music that I've stumbled into in my life. They really are, I think, one of the greatest bands out of that time and that genre. Their live shows were unmatched.
Oh, it was ridiculous to see them every night. It's like you go on tour with Duran and you watch them the first 2 or 3 nights, and then by night 5 you're like, yeah, I got it. I don't need to see them. I don't need to see the whole show tonight. Yeah. But Marvelous 3, you watched them every night. Every night you watched them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they set the bar really high for me when it came to like what and the community and the fan base, because I think at least at the shows I was into, like the crowds were good to y'all. The crowds liked y'all. The crowds were not
they were
hanging out outside or whatever. Like they would get there, and I think especially by the time our shows, because like message boards were a thing.
Yeah.
And I think by the time like our shows came around, they weren't like the first shows of the tour, so we were like, we knew that we were in for a good show the whole night. And yeah, I mean that tour I think got you guys a lot of fans. I think a lot of people that saw you then would still be excited to see you now and see you guys.
That's great. I'm so happy to hear that because that was the same experience for us. So that's awesome.
And I've just lucked out with communities around bands and things like that my whole life. The band that I've followed pretty much since like all those bands broke up. Like in 2005, I got into a band called the Drive-By Truckers, and I've seen them. Their songs I think are like really different than a lot of what other people do, but the community that they have around them is like a big part of it too. And the Marvelous 3, they set the bar really high for me for both live performances and for band community. Where it took a while for me to really be like that excited about something again.
Yeah, no, it's the devotion of those fans. Like anytime they would tour, you'd hear everybody was taking a month off to go follow or whatever. And it was a community that it was fun. And you'd get to the next place and you'd see like a lot of the same people that were there last night. You know? And it was great. And we definitely felt accepted by that group. And there were other tours where that didn't happen. So like the next tour we went on, we opened for Eve 6. I don't know if you remember Eve 6.
Yeah. But, Save Tonight. Yeah.
Hey, interesting. You cited their second biggest hit. Right, and I would
okay. Anyway, no one knows the name of that song though.
I think it's called Inside Out. I don't know.
You're right.
But great guys. We really are still friends with those guys. But it's their fans hated us.
Really?
Hated us.
Wow.
I remember we opened for them in Poughkeepsie, New York. And it was crowded and everything. And we opened with We're Calling All Destroyers into I Don't Want to Break Up. And it was like 7 minutes of absolute rock and roll. We were sliding on our knees. We were harmonized guitar solos. It was like rock and roll. And we slammed to a stop. And then there was like silence. And then somebody goes, fags. And it was just like,
damn.
What? And so like that, and that whole tour was like that, where I hadn't been called fag so much since 8th grade.
So that actually leads me to a question I wanted to ask you about. You were somebody that I think one thing that was attractive to me about your band in general is like, y'all definitely didn't stick to like heteronormative stereotypes or culture. Like I remember you would wear this like princess shirt a lot,
Yeah.
and I think we even had like, a little nickname for you. We called
Yeah.
you Princess behind
Yeah,
your
yeah,
back.
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, but my point though is that and Butch I think was somebody that would you could say does the same thing, but in
Yeah.
a very like, glam rock way.
Sure.
Where I felt like you weren't trying to be anybody. Like you were just. And how true is that? How much of that was like a persona where I'm like I want to consciously like bend gender norms a little bit, and how much of that was just like, hey, I like this shirt, I'm gonna wear this fucking princess shirt.
Yeah, no, that's a psychology question that I don't. My therapist would. We should have her on next time.
Brought to you by BetterHelp.
HELP. No, the I would say okay. So in the bands I like, Beatles maybe being an exception, there's often a lot of that going on. Be it Bowie, T-Rex, just down the line, exploring that thing is a very typical thing for a rock band to do. Coming from that point of view, I was following the rock and roll tradition, right?
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff, I wanted just the cliches. I know that this is not particularly, I wanted the cliches. I wanted a manager with a big old cigar.
Yeah.
I wanted to get, I never did the heroin addict thing, and I missed the boat on that. Because it would have been, I assumed that I would have the heroin album. And I assumed I'd have the sober album after that. I assumed that these were the things I was going to do. But getting into that time was like coming out of the 90s. Let me try if I can explain this the way that I feel about it now. Coming out of the 90s, when you're a kid in the 80s and then you're in college stuff in the 90s, you get used to there being a lot of bands that are good. You get used to like an unlimited number of good bands that you can like dip into at your own leisure, at your own whim. If you want to follow, so you don't appreciate it. You don't think you have it going good, but until they like take it all away. But like at the time,
all the venues closed down.
And no, but you still look forward to people's albums coming out. And anyway, but at that time, rock was just going down, and it wasn't really doing a lot of good stuff. And it was the rap metal. It was these things coming in what I would say is maybe a type of MAGA, a type of toxic masculinity that is presented as like maybe funny or maybe as not gay or something.
Like people saw Fight Club and it was like they didn't get the memo about what that was really about.
Oh, what's it about?
That book was like by a gay man, like an openly gay comedian. Like it's very like making fun of that hyper masculine heteronormative culture that it's portraying. But I think a lot of people saw that movie and were like, "Fuck yeah, Brad Pitt." But that's what started that Limp Bizkit, right? Like that hyper masculine macho, which is where I think like the Eve 6 crowd reaction started to come.
Yeah. So I think that's that kind of that Woodstock '99 kind of approach to things, right? Yeah. But the other side of that was this like boy band thing and like post Spice Girls world. And like I really liked that. I really liked that music. I really liked the Spice Girls like a lot. Yeah. And
you notice that's not what I said was my guilty. Like I went back and was wrong about when you asked me. And I had all that shit, man. Like, no, I'm with you. I love that
solid
shit.
Yeah, and I remember that there was this store at the Eagle Rock Mall in LA. There's an area called Eagle Rock, and there's two ways that this rock looks like an eagle. It either looks like an eagle in flight, or it looks like an eagle's face with a beak. And then if you want to confuse people, you ask them, you'd say that you think that it's called Eagle Rock because it looks like Randy Meisner was a member of the Eagles. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But there was a mall there, and they had a store called the Dollar Dazzle, and everything there was a dollar, and everything there was dazzling, and it was all like glittery, like girly stuff, or mostly that. So I remember they had these bags of plastic hair clips for like toddlers, right? And they had numbers and they had letters, and you would buy a whole pack because in there would be like two that said 666 on them, but like in like plastic, pink plastic. So I would wear these like 666 hair things in my hair. I'd have a glittery nail polish. I have these very girly things, which I imagined or wanted, or this was very sincere. I liked wearing this stuff, but I assumed it was like, it would be like the version of, say, Mark Bolan or something, dressing like an early 70s. Because I remember I would try to look like that for a while. I remember I had this fur coat and these really big sunglasses and like lipstick. And I remember I had a fur coat and big sunglasses and lipstick on, and we were about to go out for the evening to like rock club. And the bass player said, "You look like my mother about to go shopping." And I'm like, okay, maybe I want to switch it up. So I went more in like a girly kind of way, that it was meant to like gender bend in the rock and roll tradition. It was also sincere.
I think you accomplished that, and I think by making it like sincere, it was your own version of it instead of it looking like you were trying to be like some other rock god. Like you were your own version, and I'm not like I'm an ally, but I'm not like, I'm a straight dude. But I think that gender bending, that heteronormative, like I've always been like an outcast, or like somebody that wasn't going to like conform to that bullshit, the hyper masculine stuff,
Yeah.
right? So I think I love, like, that was something. It was like you were still kicking ass, but you were wearing a princess shirt and had glittery nail polish, and I fucking loved it. Like that, there was just something about all of that that was. I think you pulled it off.
Thanks. You're making me remember that. I remember at the time. Do you know who Raymond Chandler is? He's a mystery writer from the noir era,
a
right?
little bit, yeah. I think I've only read one of his books, but
okay. His main detective is Philip Marlowe, L.A. She came into my office, whatever, and he's really funny, and he uses a lot of really good slang in it. I was reading an interview with him from back like in the 40s or something, and he says with slang, either do classic slang where like it's not of an era in particular, or make it up yourself. Do not do like the slang of the moment, right? And he said either do classic or make it up yourself. And so that's what my plan was with my look, was to either go classic or make it up myself, and not to do anything of the moment. So that's where it was. It was definitely of the moment, but not
sure. Claire's was huge, right? Like you looked like you were like walked out of a Claire's, and in a cool way though, right? Like I think part of that though, I'm wondering, like, was that what allowed you to do it? The fact that you're like, I'm a fucking rock star, like now watch me dress however I want. Watch me. I think that's part of it, right? It's like this almost like I am whatever I want to be.
That's all we are anyway, and it's the story that we tell. Some people would argue that life is just like a performance for our own self, right? We're telling a story to ourselves. And certainly I would like to not be a lot of the things that I'm supposed to be, or a lot of things that being a human being is it kind of defaults as embarrassing, I think. And
dumb all over, a little ugly on the side, as Frank Zappa would say.
Yeah. And and presenting ourselves as a certain way or whatever, and trying to be that, it's like whatever persona you have on when you're talking to your parents, you're talking to some people at work, you're talking to your best friends, you're talking to your girlfriend, whatever you're doing, it's a slightly different presentation of who you are, right? And so all of it is some level of performance. And I think I wanted perhaps there to be some kind of breakthrough and become something else, but I have yet to do that.
I feel like I could talk to you for hours, Jeff.
Sure.
I don't know if you have a little bit more time.
I got a little bit more time. But I want to be right back though.
That sounds perfect. Yeah. I'm gonna save what we got, and that way.
Save it.
Perfect.
In case something happens. Okay, I'll be right back.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeff.
And we're back.
Awesome. Thank you for, first of all, just thank you for taking the time to do this. This is awesome.
Blast.
I think we're having a really cool conversation.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for having me.
I do take a historical perspective. Like I have a background in history, public history, and oral history is where I approach these interviews, but I don't expect as much of a deep dive as we went to the early years. But can you bring us up to speed? What happened with the second record? The second record comes out. I was working in a record store at the time, and we got a promo copy of it, and I didn't even know that it was coming out or anything like that.
Sure.
And I played that record all the time in the store. Yeah, hell yeah. I love that record too.
Were you bummed when you first heard it? Because a lot of people were.
Maybe like the first or second time, but it grew on me fast. If I was.
Well, at least you gave it a third spin after two disappointing ones. I didn't. It wasn't like an overcorrection to what I was saying before, or maybe not. I don't know. Who knows these things? But like it was as we were playing more and more like shows, and we were getting harder as we were playing. Right? We were getting more like shove this guitar down your throat kind of intensity in our and less power pop or harmony or whatever kind of thing was. And then the person who had signed us at Hollywood Records left, and the new person that came in really only believed us. He said he only believed me when I was at the top of my range.
Interesting.
And he said that there's an aspect of our band that the first record did not capture, and that the world had turned to face us. The world had turned to face us more now, and that because you had the kind of the Rock Is Back movement
the
with
Strokes and the
more garagey stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So let's embrace that side of TSAR, because that is a side of TSAR. Let's embrace that side and have all the songs be like that.
The White Stripes were huge at the time.
Exactly.
Is just for context, yeah.
Exactly. So I had written like a bunch of songs, and I was not really in a state of mind to write a bunch of songs because I was like bummed out and depressed, and like the first album not doing anything, it was widely regarded as a flop. Was like, yeah, commercially. Yeah, for sure, commercially. And maybe other ways too.
No, I think critically, I think it did really well.
No, even critically, there was some people championed it, but there was a lot of 2.5 stars in the LA Times. A lot of that stuff where I was like, and that still bums me out.
Yeah.
And like, I was just like, you're joking. What are you talking about? And I was going like, if this is, I don't know how much better I can do. Honestly, I don't have, that was a nice warm up. Here comes the real good one. I don't have that. So I was like angry.
Yeah.
And hopefully had a good attitude about it, but I was mad. And we just kept playing harder and harder, and then they recorded us that way. And then the very nice people with really good taste or whatever, who had liked our first record, then a lot of people were like, then they were bummed out that it was not produced enough. And I was like, oh no, because they don't sound that different to me.
I don't think so. In fact, I listened to Band Girls Money last night because it had been a minute. I don't listen to that one as much.
Yeah.
I think that part of that is just like I never saw you guys live during that time, so like I
had black hair. Yeah, we had totally different looks. And
I just didn't have a connection to those songs live that I do a lot of the ones on the first record. But I still think it's a great record. Like I didn't turn it off. I didn't skip any songs. I fucking was dancing around my living room. It's got some really great shit on it, man.
Well, thanks.
And I'm not here to just blow smoke up your ass, but I do think that it sounds a little different, but I think it's weird when people have expectations about what something is supposed to be when it's not theirs.
Yeah.
So that's when people end up disappointed. And I think like my approach to just listening to music in general was like, it was different enough for me to be like, okay, this is not the same exact shit as the first record, but I don't know that disappointed would have ever been the right word.
Okay, that's good. I go back and forth because all these things are like sides of the band, are sides of me. I really, on some level, I really like the lyrics on Band Girls Money album. They're funny to me. I like the attitude sometimes.
It's like more punk.
It's different. Like the first one's more like magical, and then the second one's more like angry or whatever. I don't know, but I don't think that I could have made. They wouldn't have let us make like TSAR 2, like the second coming of the first album. They wouldn't have. They would have dropped us before that. So you have to
the money just wasn't there for it.
No, and the first one we probably spent, I don't know.
A lot of bands in your situation wouldn't have gotten a second record, I feel like.
No. In fact, I went to a meeting at the new A&R guy's house, not knowing that he told me later that he was going to tell me that we were dropped.
Oh, wow.
In that conversation. And I came with the shirt because when we were before we were TSAR, we were briefly Drug Boy, and we recorded with some demos as Drug Boy. And I had a shirt that said "Please don't feed Drug Boy," and it was like an American flag. And I went to his house and it said "Please don't feed Drug Boy." And I was really at that time I was really good at talking to like label people and like those kind of people, because you just say nonsense. You don't you literally say flippity flappity. You literally say those things, and you act like you're this artist who knows things that they couldn't possibly understand. So I went and I was just rapping this nonsense at this guy, and not knowing I was about to get dropped. And then he was saying a lot of stuff, and I remember, are you a fan of the Monkees, the band The Monkees?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. Did you ever see the movie Head, that they're in?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that movie, towards the beginning, they do this thing where they change the monkey theme song to this kind of rap.
Right.
And it's like, hey, we have a monkeys. We love to please. We're manufactured image with no philosophies. And he stood at me and he looked at me and he started rapping that. And I just looked right back at him and I rapped right back at him, word for word. And he was like, oh, I guess I got to give this guy another album.
Wow.
So that's how that happened. But then the plan was hatched for it to be this more in-your-face rock and roll than the first one had been more like overdubbed, polished.
So when that second record came out, did you guys get as much touring support? What kind of tours did you do after that record?
Well, so then we recorded the record, and then they didn't put it out, right? So then we had a couple guys in the band quit. It was you got to understand, we didn't have any money. We had flopped big. They're not going to put out our second record.
Yeah, no, I grew up with a couple of bands that got signed to. They ended up both being on WEA, because one ended up on Elektra and one ended up on Atlantic. But yeah, I mean, after their first album, both of them got dropped. One of them got signed to like Universal for a second record. The other band, like, one of them, I think only one member of that band's a professional musician now, right? Like everybody else in that band is like living normal, regular, everyday lives,
Sure.
and maybe still writing songs, but
Oh yeah, it's you can't stop doing it. But the thing is that it hurt, honestly. Okay, it hurt to move back in with my mom and my stepdad. It hurt, right? It hurt to be walking around and seeing people and they go, "What happened?" And you go, "I don't know. I live with my mom. What do you want me to say?" So I was all in. I remember saying at the time, "You got to do something from the cradle to the grave. Might as well make some rock and roll records. What else are you gonna do?" I don't know. That was my thinking at the time. We got a couple new guys. They were super nice. They're not the original guys. And as nice and as good as they were.
I did notice there was a lineup. Like when the record came out, I remember noticing that like there was a lineup change. Yeah.
So the original band played the record, but then they quit, and then we got the other guys to be like in the videos and stuff, but they did not play on the record.
That's what it was. Yeah. The Band Girls Money video. I remember that video.
Yeah. And that was different too, because then we were on this different label. I remember
TVT.
It was TVT, yeah. So they had some cool bands like Nine Inch Nails and Guided by Voices and stuff over the years, and they were interested in us, and they liked the new records. So we went with them. They bought it from Hollywood, and we went with them. But like I remember, like we were recording, like we were doing the Band Girls Money video, and I had an outfit that I wanted to wear, and they wanted me to wear what I ended up wearing, right? And I remember like being in the makeup chair, talking to the manager, and I'm like, "Why can't I wear what I want to wear?" And he's, "Because we don't get to do what we want to do all the time." I go, "It's a fucking rock band. If I don't get to do what I want to do now, why the fuck am I doing this?" And he goes, "Because there's other people involved, there's money involved, and the director wants you to wear this." And I go, "I had never met that guy till this morning. He's never met me till this morning." And he's like, "I'm sorry, Jeff, you're gonna have to wear this as a favor to me then, because we can't do this. We have to wear this." And I remember he left, and I was just telling like the makeup lady while she was like putting on my makeup, I'm just like, "I don't get to do it." She's like, "Don't cry. You look beautiful. Don't cry." I'm like, as if I was like some model, like I'm about to cry and I'm gonna mess up my makeup. And I'm like, "They won't let us wear what we want to wear." And so that definitely happened. And I did not wear what I wanted to wear, and I still regret that. But you never know with these things which is the right way, when to play ball, when to take advice from people, when to tell them to fly a kite.
Yeah, it's especially when they're. You ever seen the movie Dig?
No, I never did. I did.
Just
is that the one with? Wait, is that the one with Nirvana playing "Smells Like Teen Spirit," or is that the one with the Dandy Warhols and the
Dandy Warhols and Brian Jones?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
I think they're just reissued it on Blu-ray too.
Okay.
But it reminds me of that $100,000 music video shoot that the Dandies had to do, where like they had no control over anything. They were like, I think David LaChapelle was the director, and it was just like this thing where it didn't match what the band was at all. And so I guess I wonder, ultimately, like that money is like money that y'all have to, at least most of the time, with like money paying for, like the band's still paying for the video at the end of the day. And
no, at the end of the day, the band pays for the video if they sell a lot of records. I mean, and that's the other thing, is that like they go, that video costs $10,000. It looks great for a $10,000 video. And I was just like, people don't care how much money a video costs. They only care if it costs like $400 or like $10 million. Those are the only two amounts.
that Dig came out the same year. Actually, I feel like Dig, or like right around then, like in
Okay, yeah.
2007, maybe it's a couple of years afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think the tide had turned on music video. Like the attitude had shifted, where people really didn't care unless
Frank
it was
Jones
like.
Massacre, by the way, was on TVT as well.
What was that? Oh, they were, right?
Yeah.
They were. Yeah. And I almost wonder if you almost felt like you were more like that a little. Almost like you felt like you were from a different era, almost like how that band
Definitely felt like that. And for as fun as the Duran tour was, and it's great, and what a good matchup it was with Marvelous 3. There were a lot more mismatches along the lines of Eve 6, and like the band that I felt the most like at home with was we maybe did, I don't know, 6 or 7 shows with the New York Dolls, right? In like 2006, 7 in there, and like I felt like totally understood by the people that came to see them. I felt like, oh, they get this, they understand this, and
I can see that 100%. Like that tracks, yeah.
Yeah, and so is it from another time? I always liked older stuff. I almost never liked contemporary stuff, and so it's possible that I just want to explore stuff that happened before. I don't know what it is, but that sense of the time of being outside of your own time is very familiar to me. Yeah.
So when it all fell apart, and it sounds like it was very painful. So I don't want you to like dig up a bunch of painful stuff or anything like that, unless like you feel like you want to. But
now is more painful than then. Now is more painful.
Can you just take us from then to now? And I certainly don't want to rush you, but I don't need you to go into as much detail as you have up until now, because
Okay,
it's hard to talk about things historically unless it's been more than 20 years. So it's
okay. A lot of it, we were up to about 20 years ago, but so that was fun. We went to England, and the second record sold more than the first record. It's not. I don't hear as much from like people saying it's their favorite record or whatever. You still hear that about the first one from time to time. Somebody will get in touch with me and say how much they like it. It's not often the second record that they say that about.
I think the fact that I still listen to it, not as often as the first. Like I definitely like the first one. The first one is attaches to me more, but
yeah,
the second record is still probably like a top 100 record of all time for me.
Fantastic.
I still listen to it at least 2 or 3 times a year.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I do think a big part of that is the fact that I got to see you live on that first record. I think that had so much more to do with it than the record itself, really.
Oh, okay. So and these things are
and all that, like
all the things that make I like some music more because I liked the cassette that it was on. There are things that like that you associate that make you like it, and that aren't strictly about the notes or whatever. But I'll just run through the history since 2006 or so. So we toured with that, made a couple videos on that record, which we didn't get to make any videos on the first record because that was when everything was still being done on film, the first record. Right. And by the time the second record came out, people could do stuff on video.
So that brought the cost down a lot.
Yeah, we had it in our contract with Hollywood for the first album that we were supposed to at least make one video when the budget was like $150,000. They just didn't make it. And they go, we're not going to make it till it's a hit. And then, what are you going to do?
Because it's the video era, too.
Yeah, it was also the end, because it was right when MTV announced, we would hear that they announced that they would not be breaking any new songs on. They would only be playing songs that were already hits. So I don't even know what that means. But when you have a contract with a label, getting them to do the things that are in the contract is not like you can't just say, so that's in the contract, so we're going to do that. You wonder, because the contracts are super thick, but they only do the stuff that they want to do. Anyway.
And by that point, you started to see like the consolidation of radio, and you started like under Clear Channel and Cumulus, and you started seeing the consolidation of media in general, right? Like, all the channels had multiple owners. Media companies own multiple channels, and there were deals between networks and.
Yeah, but I was in the position where I wanted that
at that point.
I wanted that to work for me. You know what I mean? It's like I listened to a lot of radio at Disney on my own, and now we're on like Disney's label. We go, can we be on Radio Disney? And they say no. When you go, what the hell?
Yeah,
anyway,
I do.
Because you work to get in the position where you want some of this stuff to work for you now. And then if it doesn't, you go,
why
whatever.
am I here? Yeah.
So then I went to grad school and got a master's degree, and then I made a solo record.
What's that record called, and where can people hear it?
It's called 10 More Rock Super Hits. It's available where good records are sold. I don't think it's on tape, but it's on vinyl and CD and digital. Sweet. I made that with Linus of Hollywood. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a really talented musician and producer. And I had a wonderful time making that record with him. And I'm really proud of that. I would say of all of the things that I've been involved in making, my three that I'm most proud of are the first TSAR album, my solo album, 10 More Rock Super Hits, and the Monster Squad album, which is soon to come out, One Hopes. Those are the three things I listen to and I feel the least amount of shame.
Well, I feel like a kid on Christmas morning because you just told me there's another record that I haven't heard that I can go listen to or buy. And another one hopefully coming out.
Yeah. So thank you for that reaction. That's wonderful. No, the solo album, we did a couple of videos of that. So one's called The Alien Lanes and one's called Gendy for people who want to get a sense of it without having to buy it right away. And that was a lot of fun. I really liked that record. And then a friend had a party and wanted to know if my brother Steve from college would play at it. So we got the band back together and we played this party. And then we said, since we know the songs again, let's record an album. So we did. And that one, we recorded the first album really fast. And that was really good. I like that one. That one's actually better than I thought it was at the time. And then the second one was recorded during COVID. And it's not as good as I thought it was at the time. Largely due to you can feel the COVID on it. You can feel the isolation. You can feel that no two of us were in the same room at the same time during any of the recording of it. So you can feel that. I didn't necessarily know that.
Gotcha. What did you study in grad school?
Information science.
Awesome. I did museum studies at one point.
Okay, so so this is library and information science, and I'm a librarian now. Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to songwriting, I just want to step back and now that we've covered the events and everything, when it comes to songwriting, it sounds like it's something that you said it earlier. It's like you can't stop. Like it has to come out of you. Do you think that it started to manifest in destructive ways before you discovered you were a songwriter? Or what do you think would happen if you just stopped? Because I think people that have that compelling nature to do it, like it's going to come out some way or another.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I would say that like when I don't do it, I feel more guilt. I feel more like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's not like if you do it, then you feel great. It's you feel less of that. And it's a hard thing to do, especially because like when you're like 23 and you go, I'm gonna, or you're 17 and you're on acid and you're running around, your hair is bouncing on your shoulders. Like the sense of doing it, I don't know. You can do whatever you want in your life, but like when you have an option of you could maybe be a successful guy in a band versus like, say like later when you been given a lot of examples of how that's probably not going to happen to you, like the motivation for it is different. It's not as, oh, I might become a rock star if I do this right now. It's like I might go less crazy if I do that.
Yeah. When you write a song, and I'm a stand-up comedian.
Awesome. How is it?
It's the only way that I'm comfortable getting attention put on me is if I'm making people laugh. It's what I've realized recently. I was helping a friend who's a musician. His name's Lee Baines III, and he was in a band called the Glory Fires for a long time. Anyway, I was helping him put on a house show in Jacksonville because he did my house, and then the next house didn't have a PA, and he was mostly playing clubs on this tour. And I just remember him like thanking me to the guy, and this was just like a week ago, but he like thanked me to the room, and I was like very uncomfortable with it until I made a joke about how I just wanted to see the full show, like it, and so I think that's really the only way I can. It's the only way I'm like really comfortable like getting praise of some sort. It's also, I think for me, like until I started doing it, like it would manifest in ugly ways, and maybe I would just say what was on my mind a little too often, or not have a filter socially, or like now I've found like situations where I might have gotten angry about, I'm now like I write a joke about it, and then that's how it exists in my mind now. It's not something that makes me angry, it's something that makes me laugh.
Can I ask you a couple questions about this?
Absolutely, please.
Okay. So I like when I've read a lot of memoirs by rockers, and I've read quite a few memoirs of stand-up comedians, and they're similar. And
I agree. Yeah.
They talk about.
It's cut from the same cloth almost.
I listen to that record over and over in my room, and that could be a rock record or it could be like Steve Martin record. You know what I mean? It's like somebody's like getting obsessed with this thing, and I do it with my friends. It was exactly the same as the musicians, right? And then they go on these tours where you pay your dues, you play to nobody, and you're doing the same thing, and there's this community of people. So they're similar instincts, they're similar urges that are happening, or experiences are about you, when you present yourself. You're probably troubled, you probably had a weird childhood, and now you're either a rocker, you're making people laugh, or whatever that's like.
100%. Yeah, I would say that's almost been the thesis of this podcast season, like the first season of this podcast.
Awesome.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then when does it matter to you if somebody likes your stuff but they don't get it? Like you clearly, they love you and you're like, they don't get what I'm doing at all, but they love it. Does it matter to you? Do you have to, because you talked about like intention, what the rocker intended with something versus how people took it. So does it matter to you if somebody's like a big fan of yours, of your comedy, but you're pretty sure they don't get what you're doing?
I think that I'm okay with it if they get part of what I'm doing. So I think some people get like the podcast, they get the kind of history interviews that I'm doing, and like some comedy's just not for everybody. To like, it's not for people that get easily offended. It's not for people that, there's comedy for those people. But in general, I think stand-up comedy is for people that have like a fucked up view of the world a little bit.
Okay. People to do the comedy or to enjoy it.
I think on varying degrees, both. I think to appreciate. No, don't get me like Nate Bargatze is one of my all-time favorite comics. I think he's great. I went and saw him live a few weeks ago, but he's not what I'm talking about here either. He's the kind of comic that the whole family can go watch, and he's just a funny guy. I think he has a lot of those kinds of fans that just like him, but don't always necessarily get his jokes. I feel like this touches on what me and my good friend who's been on the podcast, Elizabeth, and I were talking about the other week, where she's a songwriter, a singer, a songwriter, and like you can have a bad show or you can have a good show with no audience as a band. You can have a good show for 5 people. That's a lot harder as a comedian because what you're doing relies on the audience getting it so much more. So I think when it comes to stand-up, I don't want applause. I want laughter. Even a groan or a boo is better than what I call clapter, which is what I think like a lot of these comedians that get more political do. And I'm a leftist, but like I don't do a lot of political humor, except one joke. I'm spreading a rumor. I'll go ahead and put this rumor out on the podcast. I am spreading the rumor that billionaires taste like lobster.
When butter, a lot of things do. You know, I agree. Okay, because I don't know what is a good way to go with political stuff. The world is different than it was. I watched some old Conan O'Brien episode from the 90s the other night, and it was like a different world. It was like what was being presented, this like talk show format where you come out, you tell some monologue jokes. In this episode, he did a thing about like a comedy bit about how the band got together, and then you go to the first guest. It doesn't exist anymore. Like that whole thing is not a thing anymore.
No, even because the monologue has now become the way a lot of people get their news.
Yeah.
And then even the absurd stuff usually has political tint to it.
Yeah.
And the thing about all that is like politics is not timeless. It goes back to what we were talking. Like I want my jokes. All jokes are going to be culturally bound. I think more than music has to be. Okay. But I do want my jokes to be funny in 5 years, not just funny on the monologue of the Tonight Show tonight.
Yeah.
And so I think striving for that longevity is really challenging when it comes to keeping the audience with you. They're so tapped into what's going on right now, the daily news, the whatever, and like zooming out from that. That's how you get, I think, in songwriting and in jokes, like you either get super specific or you zoom out, right? Like you get so specific it's universal, or you get like or you start to generalize these kind of like specific experiences that you've had over time. And I think that's where the challenge lies. It's easy to make a joke about the news. It's easy to make a joke about Epstein and the drawing or whatever, and it's not like I don't make those jokes at an open mic night, but a lot of the time I try and turn them into something. Why is that funny? And then can I make what's funny about that exist without the news story or whatever?
It's interesting that you say that, because you hear about, say, these famous comedians like Lenny Bruce or like Mort Saul or something, and you try to listen to their records, or you try to listen to their performances, and you don't laugh even once. Like you don't. No,
yeah. I listened to a George Carlin record, and he was like talking about how you accidentally grabbed the wrong grocery cart, and I'm like, I get it's like a chuckle, but it's not the crowd. You hear the crowd roaring, and I'm like, that's so obvious. As like somebody who's 50 years later is like studied comedy as like a thing, right? Like it's like it becomes.
So I mean, I think some George Carlin still is funny, but
sure.
But in terms
Carlin might be the exception.
I don't know about you, but like the Steve Martin records, his 70s records are really funny to me, and I don't know if they are to a lot of people. I always like it when I read some kind of contemporary comedian that they're heavily influenced by Steve Martin's records. Like I go, okay, I get it. But you don't hear about them. Like you watch an old comedy movie, like you watch, say, some Marx Brothers movie.
I was like a big Abbott and Costello guy, personally.
As a kid, maybe, but if you watch it now, do you think it's funny?
No.
Yeah.
It's harder. Like, it's more like that's funny than a laugh out loud funny, right? It's like, oh, I see how that's funny. It's like an intellectual, like, but I think that happens as you start to, I wonder if this happens. Do you find yourself as a musician, do you rock out less to other musicians than you did when you weren't writing songs when you were younger?
You can't help but listen to it in a kind of like a doctor, or like as a scientist, you go, what are they doing, or whatever.
I think that might happen to all comedy eventually, because it's just such like a commentary on us. Eventually, enough time gets removed from it, it really does just become like a timepiece, and you have to look at it with this academic view. I also think, just as someone who writes jokes like that, I relate to that too. Like, eventually, like, I can watch a comedy special and they will make me laugh, but it's a lot harder than I feel like it used to be, or even my friends, or like, I might just be like, oh, that's funny, where they're like actually cracking up about something. So I do wonder when that.
Let me say this. I'll say this. I'll say that, like, I've explored a lot of what's available out there, and so, and almost everything I like is old. So there's a limited amount of it.
Yeah.
And when I find a band that I didn't know about that has a couple records, or 3 or maybe more, I'm really excited, because doesn't happen as much anymore. Because, like, when you're younger, you have your whole thing. You go, all right, let's check out the Stooges now, or now let's check out the Sweet, or just a whole bunch of bands with albums, and they got a thing, and you can just do it. When you run out of them, then you're relying on more and more obscure stuff, and it's less likely to happen. But it does still take me there. Just, it does not. I've really explored the bands I like a lot, and like, I've listened to the Beatles a lot, and listened to David Bowie a lot, and so I'm not going to have that Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust, the Spiders from Mars, the same way I did when I was 20, where I couldn't believe it and had to listen to it again and again. So I don't know if it's, as time goes by, just my cynicism, the weight of the world. Because the world got real stupid too. It's hard to like the things that meant something, they don't mean the same things anymore, and you wonder if what this is doing is still doing the same things that it was intended.
Like, parody is so hard now. It's like,
like The Onion,
a month later it becomes reality.
The Onion is just, The Simpsons and The Onion just predict what really happens in real life. So it's weird. I'm really hungry now.
No, this has been so great. What are you like most excited about? What should people check out? What do you want to plug? I want to give you a chance.
I don't know. I look for the Monster Squad. The TSAR's album the first album's on vinyl for the first time ever, even though that was in the contract with Hollywood Records way back when.
It sounds fantastic. It's
thank you.
Super nice packaging, and it's everything I like about a vinyl pressing. It's super high quality pressing too. Definitely.
That's great to hear.
I'll put a link to where you can pick that up in the description.
Super. So then that might come out again with some like bonus tracks, like an extended version. I haven't heard.
Okay, Usher.
And what's that?
I said, okay, Usher.
No, there's limited extra tracks that we have to even put on there, but there would be. It's not like a whole like.
I was just. He put out his whole other album for one song. Anyway.
And they put out a CD. Omnivore, that label, put out a CD called the Drug Boy Tapes, which is demos that made up the first album. I think it's pretty nifty. It should be interesting to people. I don't know. And then looking forward for the Monster Squad coming out. And who knows what's down the road, because when I make more music, then I feel slightly less shame.
When you work more.
Yes, exactly.
One last question for you, Jeff. what has kept you persistent in all this, and what's like to other artists who've maybe had like setbacks over the years, and what do you say to them that in terms of not giving up, but also being able to?
I gave up though. I gave up. It's hard not to give up. You can give up all you want, you still have to do it. It's like you have to do these things, and there's no you just stop doing it. It can be in other avenues. You can do it other ways, but honestly, I mean, like life is really stupid, and I can't believe how stupid it ended up being. I thought it was going to be less stupid than this by a lot, but it's more stupid than I could have imagined. And you might as well dance around. And if you're dancing in the mirror with a tennis racket, acting like you're doing a solo, it's not that much different from doing it for real. So you might as well.
Jeff, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome.
It's been a lot of fun, man. Thank you for having me on.
I'll let you know when it's coming out, and there'll be links to everything you just talked about in the description to make it easy for people to find it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
All right, dude. I'll talk to you later.
Bye. Well, that was my talk with Jeff Whalen. I am excited to see what he's got coming next. It's also nice to know that he still puts out music. It's really good too. Check it out. I really enjoyed talking to someone that I was able to kind of share with them how much their music meant to me. I think that was a really cool experience. Probably for both of us, if I'm being honest. Jeff was super nice to me back in the day when I was a kid. He was super nice to me now. He still puts out great records. Check them out. Keep your eyes open for Monster Squad. I think that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Next week, we've got Kevin Lane of the Arcs, the Lanes, lots of other bands. We get into it deep. You're going to be hearing a lot more about the Arcs over the next few months. And that's all I'm going to say about that. You don't want to miss it. I went up to Athens. I think if there's anything that we can take away from this season coming up, things don't always go to plan. Things don't always happen the way you hope or expect. But Hank Green, who's a YouTuber and, I don't know, entrepreneur, multifaceted, talented individual, he put out a video recently where he talks about how he tries not to have goals and hopes and dreams or like an end game. And he just tries to solve problems and do interesting things with the tools that he has. And those tools include himself, his relationships, his skill set, his actual tools. But I think that I probably have a similar approach in the way that I do my work. If you listen to my finale at the end of season 2, I mentioned several names that I was planning to interview. And I'll tell you, life happens. Most of those got rescheduled. Actually, they all got rescheduled. So we have an entirely different lineup for you. But those are coming your way. Don't worry. Anyhow, just tune in. Hit that subscribe button. We got a lot of cool episodes. Danny Bedrosian from Parliament Funkadelic will be on later this season. You don't want to miss it. Thanks for tuning in.